Hello, this is Eric Morse Eskenazi. I'm the host of the Iraq Dispatches podcast. Thanks for tuning in to this latest episode featuring an interview with Los Angeles-based singer and songwriter Natalie Duque. During this podcast episode, Natalie discusses what it's like being an independent artist and about upcoming singles that she's about to release and some live dates as well. Hello, thanks for listening to the Erratic Dispatches podcast. We'll be back shortly after a brief break. Hello, I've been using Anchor.fm now for about almost a year for the podcast Erratic Dispatches, which is distributed through Anchor.fm. It's completely free to use, very easy, and any audio that you upload or record through the website, it will be, you can use it to organize your audio files, and once your podcasts are ready to submit, it will be available to stream within at least 8 different streaming sites. Thanks for joining my podcast, Natalie. Do you mind starting off with what were some of your inspirations as a child for you to get into becoming a singer and songwriter?
Yeah, and thank you again for having me on. What were some of my inspirations? I was obsessed with the Wilson Phillips. I knew their entire album front and back. And, I learned early on that my mom was interested in singing when she was younger, and I think that kind of influenced me as well. And I was like, oh, here's this thing that I love to do that I kind of feel good at it. It was, something that my mom enjoyed as well when she was a kid, so I kind of feel like I had that like connection with her. And then um and then I started taking lessons, and I fell more and more in love with music. So
And are you originally from the East Coast in Queens, New York?
Queens, New York. Yep.
Which neighborhood in Queens?
Like the Whitestone, Flushing, Bayside area.
Okay, I lived in Astoria for 5 years.
Okay, yeah, my grandparents owned an apartment building there for my whole life. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, my mom just moved because my older sister left New York and moved to Florida, and my mom like couldn't bear being away from my nieces for that far away from my nieces, so she just moved. And I'm like, I never thought my mom would ever move out of New York. She was a Queens girl through and through, but yeah, she did it. So.
And now you're based in like Los Angeles?
I'm in Los Angeles, yes.
And how long have you lived out there?
Longer than I wanted, like 15 years. Yeah, I've been out here a long time. I love it out here. I went to school in Miami. I've lived in a few different places, and when I came out to Los Angeles or Southern California, I really felt like, okay, this is home. This is where I belong.
It's kind of funny because I grew up, I was born in Los Angeles, and I came here to New York City. Actually, yesterday was my 30th anniversary when I moved here to New York.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, but I haven't been out to California in over 8 years. I miss it greatly over there. I'm due to visit at some point soon.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens. We're like, we're born in this place, but it's just not for me.
So Natalie, describe like when you moved to Los Angeles, did you immediately start getting into the music industry there, or was it kind of a slow, gradual process, like through networking, or just like strengthening your craft as a singer and songwriter?
It was a slow, gradual process in just figuring out how to survive. So I don't necessarily, it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to come out to LA and I'm going to start gigging. It was like, okay, I know I want to live in LA. This is where I want to be, but like, how am I going to, how am I going to make a living? I was severely in debt from student loans. And so unfortunately, that was just my reality of like, I need to figure out what I'm doing with my life. Unfortunately, there's not like a job in performing music that I felt like I could be doing music full time. So it really was just like, I need to get out to LA and then figure out what I'm doing. And then in that process, I was working on strengthening my craft and writing a lot and trying to figure out my sound and what do I want to say. So it was really more of that part of the process.
And I'm aware that you play guitar. Do you play other instruments as well, or do you have a preference for playing acoustic guitar over electric guitar?
I play acoustic guitar. I used to play piano. I had to throughout college, but I have not played. It's like on my bucket list of I need to get back into that. But no, right now it's mainly just acoustic guitar. Sometimes if I'm doing a cover song or feeling in the mood for something different, I'll whip out the electric, but mostly it's the acoustic.
And have you mainly been a solo artist, or have you done were you ever in any bands earlier?
I've mostly been a solo artist. I did background vocals for a friend's band in college, and have performed with some friends' bands here and there. But mostly, it's just been a solo thing.
And like, is there certain genres that you like to sing, or do you usually stick to a certain set, like the tone of the music and with the songwriting?
Yeah, I love like so many different kinds of genres of music. I'm classically trained. I sang jazz in college. So I really love a lot of different genres and styles. And I think I tend to sometimes like, blend all of that together in some of my influences. I grew up on 90s singer-songwriters. So that's really, I really love that. So yeah, I really, when I write, it's more like folk, pop, kind of has an Americana vibe to it. I think mostly it's because it's on the electric guitar, I mean the acoustic guitar, but yeah, I kind of play around in those genres.
With your music distribution, are you like a independent music artist, or are you like on any small labels?
I'm an independent artist.
Mm.
DIY,
Yeah.
the DIY life.
And do you mind explaining to our listeners to this podcast more about what it's like to be a DIY musician, and what are the biggest joys and challenges of that?
Yeah, it pretty much means you wear all the hats. And so I need to figure out everything from, so I will write a song, I'll workshop the song and get feedback and till it gets to a point where I feel like, okay, this is a song I want to record and release. Then I find a producer I want to work with. I hire the producer, um, go through that process of getting it produced and professionally mixed and mastered and sending it out to distributors so that it can be out there on Spotify and iTunes and all of that. And then I have to focus on the promoting of it and the marketing of it and getting on Spotify playlists and the album artwork and and on and on and on. So it's really just, I think it's really great that we live in a world where you no longer need to depend on having a record deal, to be able to release music. But at the same time, it's really overwhelming because there's so much that needs to go into a release in order to do it properly. And then it's booking the gigs so you can promote a release that you have, and setting up an album release show and all of that. So yeah, there are a lot of little details
Mhm.
that go into it. Making sure your PRO information is up to speed and you're registered and
Mhm.
all the legal stuff.
So you do everything yourself. You don't have like any interns like helping you out?
I don't have any interns, no.
Mhm.
I know I've heard. I was like, I need to consider that because I know of people who like if you can do it in a way where you like offer somebody college credit and they
Mhm.
can, do some of those tasks for you. So definitely something I should be considering.
And talk about. I know that I listened to your music and I really liked it, like through Apple Music. I know so you released like a lot of like EPs or singles, I guess, since 2012. And do you mind talking about a little about the recording process? Was it like done through mostly independent studios, or was it some of it also like doing at home recording as well?
Yeah, so I've been putting out music for over 10 years now. This past year, especially with the pandemic, things have been more virtual, and I'm grateful that I have a home studio set up. I have a vocal booth at home, so I'm able to record my own vocals and send my own vocal files to producers if needed. And so over this past year, we had to do that for a few of the songs that I recorded and released. A couple, I've worked with different producers for each of my releases, and I try to kind of do my research to see, if there's a particular sound that I'm going for, what producer might be the best fit for that. So kind of researching in that way, and then reaching out and talking through the project to make sure it's a good fit, and then going from there. So like I said, a few of my releases this past year, I recorded the vocals at home, and then we did everything else virtually. I released a 2-song EP in June, and for that one, actually, it was when things are starting to it was like yeah, things are starting to lighten up with COVID, and so I felt a little bit more comfortable physically going into the studio. um Still wearing a mask and all that, but we were able to really I was able to sit with the producer, and we were able to work through everything together, which was really nice because I hadn't done that in a while. Just talking through things, and being able to give input as the process is going along, like, oh, I don't know about that sound, why don't you try this. Um and for me, as a vocalist, I really appreciate having someone to like coach me through the vocals, because it's hard to like coach yourself. And so it felt really good to be able to record in the studio and get my vocals done in a professional studio with somebody like helping me and giving me input as well.
And I know some, like reading stories, some bands or musicians, some people are day people, some people are night people, some people like to record the music at weird hours. What's your routine like when you're in the studio?
Well, I'm definitely not a morning person. I used to be a night person, but I have a toddler, and so that changes things. So I am whenever I can get in there and get stuff done, and that was pretty much how the recording of the mini EP happened. It was, okay, I can get childcare from this time to this time. Can we make this work? And we made it work, and that's when it happened. So wasn't really I mean, it wasn't anything crazy. It was just like daytime, like regular like work hours. So that was fine with me.
And do you incorporate like session players on your EPs, or are these people that you usually work with and collaborate with?
Usually session players. The producer who did my mini EP, he actually played most of the instruments on the EP. He's a one-man band. He's pretty incredible, Justin Glasgow in Los Angeles. Um, so he played most of the instruments, and then a couple of session players came in.
And like talk about some of the producers you work with. I know some of them have worked with some pretty high profile acts. And how did you find them, or were they through mutual friends of yours?
Um, it's again a lot of just like researching and reaching out. Tyler Johnson, who's worked with Sam Smith and just so many people. I worked with him before he really blew up. So and that's happened a couple of times where I've worked with people before they really got big, which is been so much fun to watch that process, and to see somebody go through it and be like, yes, it happens. It's real life for some people. So yeah, so that just it was through friends where we were working together, working on music together, and then other producers. Again, I researched, I liked their work, and I reached out and said, hey, I have this song, can we work together? So yeah.
And I like your videos too. Like you did a recent video from your Gemini EP. Do you mind talking about the shoots? Like different locations you decide. Or do you usually decide to shoot the different locations featured in the videos, or is that usually the director or the producer?
So it was a collaborative effort where I spoke with the director and producer of the shoot, and I said, okay, this is the song. These are my thoughts. I personally, I was like, I don't have a creative, too much of a creative idea for the video. And so she came back to me with some ideas and some options. And then from there, we were able to kind of then go back and forth. I was like, oh, I kind of like that. What if we do something like this? Um, and so it was really fun because it was a collaborative effort where we just bounced ideas back and forth off of each other. And then she again scouted a few locations. So what do you think of these? And then I chose the location based on that. Um, and then and then from there, we did a couple more. Like we did like we I knew we were going to do scenic things, and so that I didn't. She like she went into it knowing like, okay, they have areas. There's these spots that we can drive to that are really beautiful. And I said, great.
Mhm.
We were in Santa Clarita. It's really beautiful out there. Um, so yeah, it was a collaborative effort, which felt really good going into it.
And your music, Natalie, has been featured like playing on, I guess, stations here in the U.S. and like outside, like in Europe. And I guess you've done some touring too. Do you mind talking a little bit about that? Like, what different places that you toured at?
Yeah, so you asked if I have any help, and I do. I have Bruce, who you've spoken with from Now Hear
Mhm.
This Entertainment. I'm not even gonna try and say his last name because I don't want to embarrass myself. But he really been integral in getting me some airplay, which has been really exciting. Um, so yeah, and that's been fun, and I've been playing around the LA area even throughout the pandemic. There have been opportunities to perform, which I'm really grateful for. I performed at the Mint LA at separate theaters. I'm performing at the Hotel Cafe this week. So, um, so yeah, it's been, people are trying to keep the music alive, even though it's been a little challenging. We're still making it happen.
So the Hotel Cafe in Los Angeles, like, is supposed to be a pretty famous place.
Yeah, yes, yeah. It's
It's like,
a very iconic, known for a lot of like singer-songwriters have come up through there, like Sarah Bareilles, and I can't even. There's a big list of people that have come through there.
as a like when you're performing live, are you very peculiar with like the acoustics of a place? Like you prefer performing in certain places because you feel the sound is captured better?
I I really enjoy performing at places based on just like the vibe of it. And I think that's why like the Hotel Cafe is one of my favorite places to perform and to watch live music because it's very much um, a singer-songwriter venue that values the song. And so I really love that. And the clientele, the people who go there are just genuine music lovers. Like
Mhm.
they yeah, they just love discovering new music. And so for me it's kind of more like the vibe of the place as opposed to the acoustics or anything like that.
And like, how often do you usually perform live?
I wasn't perform. It's hard to even like say because it's
Hmm.
like I said with the pandemic, it's been up in the air. I have been maybe once every few months
Hmm.
during the pandemic have been able to perform. Yeah. So I mean, I feel like I thought there would be more like outdoor options in
Hmm.
Los
Hmm.
Angeles because it's a
Hmm.
place, beautiful weather here.
Hmm.
So it's been surprising that there aren't a lot
Hmm.
of outdoor performance options in like the Los Angeles area. But I do think, venues have opened up and they're starting to figure out um, how to book shows safely. And so I think that's gonna increase. So I actually just spoke with somebody last night. I might be performing at an outdoor like in an outdoor space next month at a series. So
Great.
yeah, I think things are starting to pick up more
Hmm.
now.
Hello, thanks for listening to the Erratic Dispatches podcast. We'll be back shortly after a brief break. Throughout like Los Angeles, are there like a lot of like I guess up and coming like independent music venues popping up?
popping up now.
Well, like,
Um,
well, I guess even pre-pandemic, were there like kind of like indie spaces?
there are a lot of spaces. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know there are a ton that I've never even heard of.
Mm-hmm.
But like I had started like creating a list of places that I'd heard of or had researched. And I was like, okay, I need to reach out to these people to try, to see if I can perform there. So there definitely are a lot of venues that that have indie acts performing that are like smaller places. I really hope that they were all able to survive this past year. I don't know. Not all of them have opened back up.
Mm-hmm.
Like right before everything shut down in March of 2020, like I had booked a songwriters round at Genghis Cohen, where they have it's a restaurant, but they also have live music. And I know the restaurant has been open, but they haven't had the option to have the live music back. So not everything is like things are open, but not all the live music venues are fully open yet.
Have you been doing like virtual concerts, since the
Yeah.
shutdown?
Yeah, I so in the beginning I was doing weekly live streams on Instagram, Facebook because I just thought, oh, this is going to be a temporary
Mm-hmm.
thing. I did not think it was going to last as long as it has. And after a few months, I was like, okay, this is not sustainable. And so I switched to doing them monthly.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing monthly for a while up until this past June. And then I recently I recently launched a Patreon
Mm-hmm.
community. And so through my Patreon, I do a monthly live stream.
That's great. Yeah, I was going to ask you that, like kind of like crowdfunding you've done, for
Mhm.
your fans.
Yeah, yeah, I do monthly live streams, monthly demo of the month. So I record an acoustic demo of one of my original songs that's not released, and offer that through my Patreon as well.
And you have like people reaching out to you like all over the world, or fans of your music.
Um, Not reaching out to me personally though. Actually, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I have in Australia. I
Mm-hmm.
have a few in Australia um, that have reached out to me. I'm like, I think if I look at my like statistics on Spotify and Instagram and Facebook, there are fans from all over the world, but I have not heard from them all.
Mm-hmm. And like right now, are you currently working on a new LP or a new EP?
I have two songs that I'm going to be releasing actually for Christmas. I've been wanting to release some holiday music for a while. So I finally was able to like get it together this year to release two songs, an original and a cover, in December.
Uh, do you mind talking about like is it particular themes that you like to draw upon with your music? Do you like to draw stuff from people you knew or some stuff from the past? Is it very autobiographical your stuff, or you take like maybe literary inspirations in your work or religious inspirations?
It's very autobiographical. Songwriting started off for me just as more of a like therapeutic kind of thing. It was a way for me to process my feelings and emotions. I felt like I could communicate things better in song than I could in words, like in
Mm-hmm.
speaking, which is weird because it's essentially words to music. So I don't know why that is, and I still feel that way sometimes. So yeah, it's just a lot of my personal experiences, either experiences that I've had with heartbreak or struggles with. I released a song in April about my struggle with imposter syndrome. Um, I have actually my set at Hotel Cafe is very like family themed because I'm playing a song I wrote about my grandma who passed away from Alzheimer's, and a song that I wrote about my grandfather who passed 10 years ago. So yeah, it's very much a little sneak peek into my life and what makes me me.
Mm-hmm. And are you a singer songwriter that's very disciplined? Like, are you always jotting down like ideas and notes like every day, or always just working on your songs like in a lot of in process stuff?
So I'm trying to accept that there are different seasons when it comes to this indie musician life. So last year I was writing so much. I had like 3 or 4 co-writes scheduled a week and was just constantly writing. I wrote about 60 songs last year. This year, um, I really have been focusing more on the business side and releasing and things like that. So I haven't been writing as much. I'm still jotting ideas down and constantly with my notes app in my phone and trying to keep track of everything. And I do still go to like I have a weekly songwriting song club where you can bring songs and get feedback. And I sometimes show up without a song because I'm like this is my community of songwriters. Um, so this season has not been one of writing as much writing, but I think when you are a DIY artist and you're doing so many things, it's not possible to do everything all the time. So yeah, this past year for me was more focusing on um, business admin, getting things
Mhm.
together, and yeah, I'm slowly getting back into the writing more phase of it, which for me that's the fun part.
I guess are you self-taught with the business side of music, or did you have any mentors at the beginning, or did you take enrolled in any like business classes, music business classes?
Well, I'm gonna age myself here. I studied music business in college, but really nothing that I learned
Hmm.
actually applied because the music industry was drastically changing
Hmm.
as I was in
Hmm.
in school. And so like by the time I got out of there, it's like, okay, like that's not how the business works now. So a lot of just self-taught, taking online courses, trying to learn how do you do these things on your own, and also just really building my community of my songwriting community because we all learn from each other. Like
Hmm.
we're all it's so hard, but we're all if you can um, find your people, find your songwriting community and other DIY artists, you can all learn from each other and help each other grow. So that's been really invaluable.
And like, have you released any of your stuff on vinyl? Like, are you interested in releasing some of your stuff on vinyl because there's been such a resurgence of it, the past decade or so?
Yeah, I haven't released anything on vinyl. I am interested. I think next year I'm gonna start looking into other options because yeah, I'm like, well, people don't really buy CDs. I know people buy CDs, but people don't listen to CDs anymore. Like, there's not even a place to listen to your CDs. Like, my laptop doesn't have a space for CDs, and I think even cassette tapes are having a comeback.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
So as of right now, I don't have any vinyl options, but I think next year I'm going to look into more options for releases.
And do you mind talking a little about like when you record from home? Are you like very peculiar? Like, do you use certain types of software, or are you pretty flexible to even using like an iPhone or an iPad, like using music apps within that? If you're just experimenting with some stuff.
If I'm just experimenting, like, oh, I have an idea for something, I'll just use my voice memo on my phone. But
Hmm.
if I'm recording a demo for someone or that I want to share, I record my vocals in my vocal booth. I use Logic Pro to record everything. So it just depends on what the purpose is.
And like, as being a singer and songwriter, have there been any unusual stories within your journey as a singer songwriter?
Have there been unusual stories?
Any unusual stories on your journey from when you started out as a singer songwriter till now?
I don't know if it's unusual, but it's definitely been a journey where I've done music on and off for most of my life, and then I was a classroom teacher for 5 years. I taught middle school special education, and I loved my students, and I brought music into the classroom. I would, you know, wrote a song about Mesopotamia using the music to Sia's Titanium. So I definitely like used it to my benefit there. But like I said, I was severely in debt from student loans, and so I needed a steady steady job, and I loved working with kids, had experience working with kids, and so that felt like the right path for me at the time. And it was interesting that as soon as my student loans were coming close to an end, I started to physically get sick. And I was like, what's wrong with me? What's happening? And went to doctors and trying to figure out all this stuff. And ultimately they were like, it's emotional. Like it's in your head, not in my head, but like your stress is causing you physical discomfort. And it was really the first time in my life that I realized how connected our mental state is with our physical state, because I wasn't truly happy. Like I loved my kids, I love my students, and I was enjoying what I was doing, but that's not what I was meant to be doing. I was meant to be focusing on singing and writing and really having music be my life. That was my core. So I hit send on my final student loan payment. I finished out my last year of teaching and decided like, okay, this is I need to put I need to throw all of my focus and attention behind pursuing music, a life in music. And that's what I did. And it's
Mhm.
been 5 or 6 years now since that moment. So
If you came across like any teenage, girls or like who are interested in becoming a singer songwriter, what kind of advice would you give to them for starting out?
I would say that hearing no is a good thing and rejection is a good thing, because it means that you're putting yourself out there and it's going to lead you to the yes. So just keep at it.
Uh, so Natalie, like anything coming up? I know you're going to be performing at what's it called, the hotel in LA, the Art
A
Hotel.
hotel cafe.
Hotel
Yeah, the
Cafe.
hotel cafe. Yeah.
Any
It's
any
not a hotel, but
Okay. Was it a former hotel?
I don't know. I
Oh,
don't think
okay.
so, but I don't know. Yeah.
Do you have, and like after that, are there any other venues you're going to playing maybe in the fall? Do you have booked yet? Or
So I might be doing the performance in October. I am 7 months pregnant right now, so my
congratulations.
plan for the fall is to survive, adding a baby to this family, and yeah, I'm just recovering from that. So that's why normally I have my release schedule planned out a few months in advance. But that's why there's a big chunk of time between my EP release and then I have the Christmas songs already recorded, so they're ready to be released. But yeah, we'll be taking a few months of downtime around the holidays before ramping back up in the new year. I do also I had the music video for Know Me Better that came out recently, and then the other song from the 2-song EP. I'm gonna have a music video for that will be out in the next few weeks, and that is it's a live performance video of me performing at the Hotel Cafe last month. That song, Silence Hurts More. So that is coming out in the next month. Have my Hotel Cafe gig, maybe another performance in October, and then the release in December, and then that's it for 2021.
Great. And I guess where you live in Los Angeles, you're part of a big community of singer songwriters out there.
Yeah, I mean there are lots of like little communities within the community. But yeah, I am a member of this organization called Los Angeles Songwriters Collective. And it really has been integral to my mental health during the pandemic, because like I said, there's this they have lots of different options for things you can join and seminars and things, or like guest speakers. But they have a weekly song club that I've been attending where, yeah, it's been really great to just share. And like I said, even if I don't have a song one week, I'll still go just to hang out and give feedback and, and listen to what everybody else has been working on. But it's a really great community.
And when I've interviewed other musicians and songwriters on my podcast, like one of the things I've asked them about how, and I do some experimental like sound design stuff. So the frustrations of like, with the streaming thing, like where you barely can make any money per stream. I mean, what are your thoughts of that? Are your hopes that maybe they will hopefully increase the revenue, for artists, instead of just being paid like even less than a penny per stream?
I know it's so crazy, and it's like, to really promote stuff, if you're putting money behind promoting releases and getting Spotify plays and all that stuff, and then at the end of the day, it's like, oh, I got $12 from that from 10,000 streams. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's really. I feel like the songwriting community has come a long way, and it also has a long ways to go. But there is an organization called SONA, the Songwriters Organization of North America, I think is what that stands for. But they advocate for songwriters' rights, and so they're really fighting hard to make sure songwriters get paid, because they don't. Like, you hire a producer to produce your song. They are getting paid for their work no matter what happens with that song. But if somebody wanted to work with you as a songwriter, like I've been in so many sessions, and I had to explain to a friend, and they're like, oh, so you get paid for those sessions, like when you go and you songwrite with somebody. I'm like, no, that's not how that works. You're just investing your time and hoping that somebody's gonna, they're gonna decide to move forward with it, and then hoping that something happens with the song. But as a songwriter, it's not something that you get paid for up front, unless you get a publishing deal in that route. So yes, I'm definitely hoping that songwriters are going to be valued more monetarily, and I think it's starting to happen. There are a lot of people out there fighting for that to happen.
Because it seems like pretty much now, if you're an independent music artist, the only money you can really make is like through touring. Or the bands, like, that's the only they really can sustain themselves, just like touring a lot,
Touring and merch, but that's merch is at the gig.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely not something that is, at least for me, I'm not doing it for the money. For sure. It's something, that I think most of us are doing because we feel like we were born to be doing this, and we just love it so much, and it just gives us life.
Mm-hmm. And like, music, any kind of art is very therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
Getting through past traumas, and then, inspiring other people as well,
Yeah.
It's very valuable. So that's why we got to get paid better money.
Yes. Yes, I know. And like during the pandemic, what did people turn to when we needed something to help us get through it? We turned to the arts.
Yeah.
TV, film, that's acting, music, like we turn to things that are all the arts, but for some reason it's just, I don't know why it's not valued as much, but hoping that will change.
Hopefully it will change. Yeah.
Hello, thanks for listening to the Erratic Dispatches podcast. We'll be back shortly after a brief break. Thanks again for tuning in to this latest episode of the Erratic Dispatches podcast, featuring an interview with Los Angeles-based folk singer and songwriter Natalie Duque. For this podcast episode profile page on Anchor FM, I posted links to Natalie's official website, her Instagram, and YouTube channel. And for those of you who are in Los Angeles, she'll be performing at the Hotel Cafe on Thursday, September 2nd. And for all of you listeners of the Erratic Dispatches podcast, thanks again for tuning in. I do have a contribution button, donation button on my Anchor FM page, also on the website for erraticdispatches.brooklyndigitalmediainc.com. So any kind of contribution or donation would be greatly appreciated to help me sustain this podcast. And I'll be back soon with a new episode. Take care. Bye-bye.